All right, let's talk about Andor, episode 10. We are here at the prison break. Finally, after several episodes, I have been very critical of the show, mostly because of pacing. The writing seems to handle a whole lot of stories. It's plodding along and taking way longer to get to this point, to be honest, because we kind of know where things are going sometimes. And it's the execution rather than the content. This episode is kind of an improvement, and we'll talk about that. So, without further ado, let me recap the series just a little bit for you. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 are in the wake of Andor getting caught up in a scuffle, and he murders a couple of contracted people, and that alerts the Empire to a problem there. And he's basically on the run for those 3 episodes, trying to get off the planet. It takes until episode 3 where you actually have a significant action sequence with Stellan Skarsgård character. He's like this secret covert organizer of the rebellion. His name is Luthen. Then episodes 4, 5, and 6 is this heist that Luthen has kind of earmarked Andor for, adding him to his team. And you're spent kind of going back and forth with different characters there, most of which either don't matter or die. And Andor leads and kind of basically pulls this heist off because they had little to no skills without him. 7 begins with Andor basically wanting the money to run and then basically getting himself arrested. And then you have the prison that's being set up, and then we're working towards, can he get out of this prison or not? You have some backdrop with some different characters and things like that. I'll explain when they pop up because not everything is included in this episode. So fortunately, we didn't get too bogged down like we have in some of the other episodes. So that's actually a very strong positive for this episode. Instead of trying to deal with like 5 or 6 subplots, it's a little more concise. We have our recap, and then you have the prison, right? And at the end of the last episode, episode 9, you have the death of the prisoner, the old man. And what has come to light, and this is in the recap, is no one gets out, right? Because of the heist that was done in episode 6, the Empire's been cracking down, so things are even a little bit more stringent, worse, and corrupt. They're changing police sentencing. So now instead of getting, let's say, a 6-month sentence, Andor got 6 years. When people are there, they're getting extensions. And in the one episode, you have someone who served their time. You think they're leaving. And next thing you know, they're moved from one floor to another floor. And reality is word gets out and they execute an entire group of prisoners, 100 people, to cover up what they're actually doing. This is where we are, where Andor and several of the other inmates know they've got to figure out how to get out. Now, as I've said, the prison is by far the best part of the entire series thus far. It's been innovative and interesting. It's elaborated on the regime of the Empire and them cracking down. Andy Serkis is sort of the inmate that's kind of given a little bit of control. He has been by far the best performance and given the best stuff. And he and Andor have incredible chemistry together. This is definitely the best episode of the season, in my opinion. And it's in large part because of him and his character. And Andor's giving great lines. He's very inspirational. Like, what are you going to live for? You're already dead to them. Like, they're not going to let you leave. So whenever they bring a dead body out, they bring a new prisoner in. They've been observing this for several episodes, taking some mental notes, conferring with one another, and they have sort of like acknowledged this is their one opportunity to take a chance for a prison break. And Kino is finally involved. He's finally, and you can see the performance here. It's just he finally gets it, right? He finally gets there. Is no other way around it, right? He just knows, and it is by far the best performance. You have these incredible moments with them coming grips with they have to go for it. They have to go for it, and yet he knows at any moment during this process, they're all looking for him for leadership. He's saying, Andor saying all the things. Look at, he knows I don't have a choice. If I don't do something now, it will be when the next guy dies that I'll have a chance. So that's where you go, and you kind of have this setup of, well, they're going to do something, and we just don't know quite exactly what they're going to do. So we have a little bit of intrigue that's done well before we cut to the Empire. Okay. So this is Girl Boss. Her name is Miro. Deidre, I think is her name, Deidre Miro. She is the Empire's sort of very aggressive, aspirational woman. She's kind of undercut one of the other guys to kind of get favor because she's been investigating the incident in episodes 1, 2, and 3. It's called Ferrix. It was a planet where Andor had the murder of those 2 contractors. She knows she's looking for Andor. She doesn't really know what she's looking for. Doesn't exactly even know if the description is accurate. And then subset to this, which is a little bit of a distraction from that investigation, is them picking up pieces of the fact that there is a growing rebellion, and they've got this person they've intercepted, and they basically admitted there's a rebellion attack planned, and they've got their scheme going to kind of get their hands inside the rebellion towards this person that's organized it, which they call Axis, and that's Luthen. So this actually moves quickly. They don't spin their wheels. We don't have to cut back to this like 6 times. It just goes really well. And we cut right back to the prison, which is where we want. And you have great lines by Andy Serkis, great performances by Diego Luna. And then we briefly cut back to Ferrix and kind of get the sequence where, the mom is sick or whatever, and you have some different things that are going on, but that's kind of it. It almost didn't be here, but they partnered it with an update with the other subplot here. Okay, let's get to her. So this is Mon Mothma in the background. This is the shady guy. He pulls us off by this guy's great. And by the way, hashtag Great Widow's Peak. By the way, he's rocking the Widow's Peak. So good on him. Okay, so Mon Mothma is quietly in the Senate and working with Luthen. Everything is on the down low. Even the husband doesn't know. There's a whole bunch of money missing. And the husband was sort of like, made to make it think it's his idea to involve someone to help get a loan and money, shuttle the money through to cover up their tracks. And again, remember, the husband doesn't know she's rebellion. He just thinks that she squandered the money or something like that. I don't know what he thinks. Anyway, so you have a scoundrel who's trying to make a deal for the money, and be honest, it all hinges on this guy's performance, which is fantastic. And Mon Mothma actually is not bad in this role. She's not irritating girl boss in the series. It's just a lot of the stuff is just drawn out. She's just sort of like a pawn on the chess piece, so to speak, and that she matters so much less than Luthen. Anyway, long story is kind of finally comes to a head here. We talk a little too long for my taste. I think it's like almost 3 or 4 minutes. And basically, he's going to work with her, but he wants his son to meet their daughter who's coming of age, and that's kind of and Mom Mothma acts like she's not going to do it. Basically, we cut to Luthen, and this is his aide. And you have this mysterious comment about so-and-so wants to meet face to face. So you have the rebel uprising that's coming to root, and then we cut right back to the prison scene. Now, if we're going to have all the subplots, right, we're going to have something still going on in Ferrix, we're going to have the Empire, we're going to have Mon Mothma, and then we're going to have Luthen. At least it moved reasonably fast, and it wasn't just a lot of fluff and talking for no reason. So I will give it a little bit of credit in that regard, that all moved relatively fast. And we are only at the 15-minute mark. So we do get back to the prison very quickly. And this is them bringing in the new person. And what we see is Andor has figured out there's like a compartment in his little cell. He's popped open, so he's made this shiv, and he's cutting on basically what is a water line. They're all in on it. They know that they're going to try to make their move today. These are the guards checking in the new prisoner, and it works really well. He even shows up wet. I mean, there's water kind of everywhere, things like that. But he has to keep racing back in time to make sure that he doesn't alert them that they're onto something. So they have such strict protocols. And now that the water is out onto the floor, we'll get to that. And you have sort of the first step of them bringing in the new person before there's attacks, right? And then when they light the floor up, anybody that's not on the table gets shocked because of the water, but it short circuits the entire place. Okay, so now the whole place is now gone out, right? And you lose people very quickly. I love the Prison Break elements to all of this because it's muddied, it's fast, it's interesting. They cut to different characters. We don't need to get too much into it. We don't need to have these big moments to mourn characters we don't even know. It's all done well. There's a shot of the intercom and Kino. Basically you're seeing power and attacks in different areas. This place is just this massive fortress with thousands of prisoners and only a few guards. These are all the blasters. The blasters all pretty much look the same way. These are the people that are in the command room. Andor and Kino get there. And this is kind of how that goes. And I gotta be honest, it was actually very believable. All of this was done well. There's a couple shots where you see Andor is very, very, he's very good. He's very handy. He's tactful. He executes a guy, makes sure he's dead. He's doing all the things that's right, and they're trying to do their part here to figure out how to get themselves off. And here he's incentivizing and encouraging Kino to give the right kind of speech. Basically says, I'm the level manager. This is our chance. And the phrase that gets repeated, which is the title of the episode, is, one way out, one way out. And it just goes, it's very emotional. It's a little long, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's all fine. And we keep our focus where it needs to be, like how to get them off. We care about Andor, we care about Kino, and we come to this moment where they're on this edge. You don't know where they're going. You don't know how they're going to survive, and he's just encouraging other prisoners, no matter what happens and how we made it, we got out, right? And when you cut over to Kino, you realize he's not jumping. And he's like, what's going on? What happened? And Andor kind of gets knocked over. Like these prisoners are just bum rushing the edge, and they leave Kino because Kino says, I can't swim. So you don't know if Kino gets off. You're kind of assumed that he's not able to get off. Like if he jumps, he'll die in the water. So he doesn't know what to do, which is very tragic to the guy that basically made all this happen. And we leave it. That was all fantastic. And then we cut to this guy. So this is the guy walking around. And this is a very long sequence. It's a little too long and tedious. I will say this, at least I feel like I'm in Star Wars with some power droids and some aliens and stuff like that. Some dark corridors and stuff don't feel Star Wars, but at least there are real sets and stuff like that. I feel like I'm actually in a place and not in the CGI volume. He knew there was a communicator in his ear. I don't know if that's Star Warsy or not. I don't know. It all works fine. And you have sort of this back and forth about being his spy or not. Luthen knows he's got a daughter now. So like I said, it's a little bit long. I will say this. This is the shot that matters right here. Luthen is there waiting for him. And the metaphor of the cloak, right? So it's blowing in the wind like a Sith, right? This was perfect because he gives us a Sith speech. Basically, I have to do what I have to do. I have to use their weapons to bring them down. I've lost myself. I've lost everything. Because, first off, the guy's name is terrible. His name is Lonnie. It's terrible. That was a horrible name. But the scene is great, and Luthen's speech is great, and you can see he's basically, the ends justify the means. He has to become evil. He has to do evil things. And basically, this guy has told him about the fact, all the stuff that's going on with Miro, they're on to this big rebel attack. And Luthen basically says and knows, I have to sacrifice all those people for the Empire to believe they're in control, that they know what's going on, even though we know that they know, right? So this goes on too long. Like it was like 10, 12 minutes left in the episode. So with credits or so, it just goes for a long time. The speech is good. It's just a lot. It's just a little bit too long. And then we do cut back to Andor and another prisoner who's made it to some sort of land, and they're just running. And that's kind of where it ends. Yeah, this is a lot, man. It's like credits are like 5 minutes long. Holy cow, almost 6. It's like 6 minutes of credits. That's crazy. So episode works better than just about any of the other episodes in the show. I am not trying to pretend this is like the end all be all or anything like that, or it saves the whole series, but it definitely this is the problem. The pacing works in this episode. Why couldn't the pacing have been working all along, right? Episodes 1, 2, and 3 could have been 2 episodes. 4, 5, and 6 could have been 2 episodes. Even if we have to have, 2 for the heist and then another, or I don't know. It's just like, why are we on 10? It seems like we should be on 6, maybe 7. So it just seems like the pacing has been the problem with the show. Some of the performances are fine, but they piddle around with different moments and stuff where characters you end up don't really caring about. Like, I don't really care about the prisoners. I'm like, it's nice that they have names and faces, but we're not going to get attached. So when we had the heist, we had all of this like forced drama about characters that we don't really care about because we're supposed to be following Andor. And reality is Andor is kind of an aside in the show because his story is surrounded by so many other stories. That's the problem. The Mon Mothma and the Empire, Mira. We didn't even get to the stuff that's not included in this episode because they skipped. We didn't have to deal with the crazy Beta Inspector Karn guy. We didn't get bogged down on Ferrix and Bix and some of the nonsense this show has done. So one of the best episodes at this point. And I mean, again, the show is way better than Boba Fett and Kenobi. I think it's on par with Mandalorian Season 2. Not quite as good as Mandalorian Season 1. But of all of that, is it better or worse? Where are we at compared to like House of Dragon? Because I think it's not as interesting. It's not as engaging. It's not as well written as that show. And that's why people have reacted the way they have. So you guys will tell me what you guys think. I appreciate everything. I am Pops.
Yeah.